Hi everyone, and welcome to your lesson that's all about the cell, okay? So the first thing that you need to know is that the cell are building blocks of life, okay? Anything that is alive, that has life, is made up of cells, okay? All living things are made up of at least one cell, okay? One or more. Things that are not alive, they don't have cells, they have atoms. So those organisms that are living, that just are made up of only one cell, we call those organisms unicellular. Uni, of course, means one. Think unicycle, think unicorn, one. So unicellular organisms are just one cell. So bacteria would be unicellular. It has a life all on its own. That one life is as big as one cell. Now, multiple bacteria can live right beside each other. You might have a lot of bacteria, but each organism is just one cell, okay? And then we've got multicellular organisms. These are organisms that are made up of two or more cells. Think us. Yeah, we've got a lot of different types of cells in our bodies. Plants, animals, fungi, protista, these are all things that are multicellular organisms, okay? So the major parts of a cell are going to be its nucleus, which is where it holds genetic information. Now, we'll talk about this here in a minute, but only eukaryotic cells have this nucleus, okay? Then we've got the cytoplasm, and it surrounds the nucleus, and it's like what holds all the organelles in its place. Organelles are tiny little things that live within the cell that help the cell survive. Organelles are different, they all perform a different job needed to help keep the organism alive, like getting and using energy, reproducing, maintaining its structure, things like this. We'll talk more about that in another lesson. Also, we'll need to know about plasma membrane. This is what surrounds the cell and protects it from the outside world, okay? Now, remember, all cells have to have some sort of genetic information, DNA. Every cell has to have some sort of DNA. It just looks a little different depending on the type of cell. Okay, so in prokaryotic cells, these cells are more simple. They're not nearly as complex. There's not as many organelles that are inside of it to give it its complex structure. They're simple. Okay. Prokaryotic cells are all unicellular. They're all just one little cell living by itself, okay? And the DNA is loose in the cell. See this squiggly spaghetti looking stuff? That's the DNA. It is not tightly compact into a little ball and held within a nucleus, okay? It gets to swim kind of in the middle of the cell just like that, okay? So there's no nucleus at all in a prokaryotic cell. No nucleus holding that DNA. Now, here's one way that you can remember this. Pro means before, okay? The prefix pro means before. So before there were cells that had a nucleus, there were the cells without a nucleus. No nucleus, prokaryotic. Now, you can also remember this by a rhyme. Pro means no, okay? And then we've got eukaryotic cells. These are much more complex. Look at all the things that you can find in a eukaryotic cell, okay? Most eukaryotic cells are in multicellular organisms, most of them. Then we've got eukaryotic cells that have their nucleus. They've got the DNA held within a tight little ball called the nucleus that's in the center of the cell. Now you can remember this by U means do. They do have a nucleus, okay? So these are the things that you'll need to know as you go through this lesson. Please reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.